enemy. Welcome back to another episode of the Hardcore Casual with your boy, Bass the Kid. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. You know it's appreciated. Now, I was debating whether or not to do episodes today, but after some stuff that I just seen, and as well as, you know, a couple stories that have been taking place over the last couple of days, I felt, you know what, let me get an episode out. So without further ado, let's get into it. So from the reports I've been hearing, Chris Eubank Jr. is supposedly supposed to be the front runner to face Canelo Alvarez in September. Just the other day, I heard it was supposed to be either Edgar Berlanga or Jamal Charlo, and the idea was that, you know, Canelo likes to, you know, go on Mexican Independence Day weekend in the States, but it may get pushed a couple of weeks back, just like they did to him with Jamel Charlo, and the same way they made him fight in November against Caleb Plant rather than sticking to his regularly scheduled date. But now I'm hearing that they're talking about Chris Eubank Jr. being the front runner. And for the life of me, unless that fight's supposed to take place in the UK, that fight makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. I mean, number one, Eubank hasn't competed at 168 for about, what, 5 years now? I don't think he's been there since about, what, 2019, just before pandemic, if that, maybe 2018. So why would he be the front runner? Secondly, like, in America, okay, yes, he's a Eubank, but his stock and his value is based in the UK. So putting him against Canelo in Vegas or I don't know, Texas or somewhere like that, you know, Phoenix, Arizona, you know, big Mexican contingent, that's not gonna drum up any huge business. It might obviously, you know, have a very big crowd because he does good numbers in attendance, but if you're looking for pay-per-view sales, they ain't selling no pay-per-views, especially not over here at 4 or 5 in the morning. It's a very odd choice. I haven't read enough into it to understand, you know, sort of the ins and outs of how this may have come about and what the deal's supposed to be. But unless that fight's supposed to take place at the O2 Arena or like the Co-op Live Arena in Manchester or, you know, somewhere like that, it makes absolutely no sense. Now, if you put it in the UK, you could probably do a small football stadium with an event like that, maybe like a Stamford Bridge, or, you know, like a Charlton, or maybe even the you know, West Ham, the Olympic Stadium, possibly. It's not a Wembley settings or anything like that, but you could probably do like a 40,000 seater arena or something. So if that was the case and he was like, okay, well, I finally want to make this trip to the UK that I've been saying I want to do for the longest time, then okay, I can kind of see that as a viable option. But in terms of just like your next fight, especially after you've you know, you've done the step aside deal with William Scroll, it just doesn't make much sense. I mean, the obvious choice, if you're not gonna fight David Benavidez at this point, if he's gonna say that he's not ready to come back in September after his fight last month, then unfortunately Edgar Berlanga ticks every keep busy box that you want him to tick, plus the fact of him being, you know, Puerto Rican, you're Mexican, there's that big Mexican-Puerto Rican rivalry in the States. It's not a rivalry I know of it, but obviously it's not one that I'm fully entrenched in. But, you know, it's funny though, it seems like the Mexican boxers have got rivalries with everyone. Like Floyd Mayweather, always it was like, you know, the African Americans versus the Mexicans when he was out there, and then you've got like the Puerto Ricans versus the Mexicans. I'm pretty sure like you might have like the Nicaraguans against the Mexicans, or like the Dominicans against the Mexicans, although I think Dominicans might be more Puerto Rican. That might be the rivalry a bit more for them. But obviously it's a Latin thing which I can't fully understand, and I wouldn't, you know, and they've got, you know, sort of their rights to all of that, but Mexicans just seem to be in the epicenter of every single clash that happens in boxing especially, but they are very proud people, so I guess it makes sense that they're gonna back their person to the hills regardless. But yeah, that being said, if you're telling me that the three options were Jamal Charlo, Chris Eubank Jr. and Edgar Berlanga, I can't lie, I would much rather see Edgar Berlanga unless it was on the UK soil. If it's UK soil, then give me Chris Eubank Jr. because at least the build-up will be funny and I could be in attendance. Outside of that, you know, Chris looks like he's there looking for a payday. To be honest, all three of them probably are looking for paydays, but at least with Edgar Berlanga there's a narrative in there and you can get very tribalistic, and it can be, you know, there can be a lot of, you know, proper energy involved in the build up and on fight night, as opposed to something that's ultimately manufactured just for that moment. That's kind of my opinion on it, but look, please let me know what you guys think down below, because yeah, to me it just seems like a very, very odd choice, but I'm interested to see how this all plays out. So it looks like Bob Arum has basically come out and said that he's, you know, more than happy for, you know, Shakur Stevenson to go and check the market after his fight on the weekend. You know, he's a free agent. He said the contract's been fulfilled, and you know, if that's what he wants to do, we're going to wish him the best. If he doesn't find a situation that he's happy with, we'll be more than happy to work with him and make fights for him in the future. But I don't know, I guess that kind of talk that ultimately tells me that they don't see a huge value in him, in trying to keep him or trying to tie up that deal, and they ultimately are going to say, okay, we'll go around. If people don't offer you the money you think you want, you can come back to us, but guess what, the money that you thought you was earning before, you ain't gonna be earning that again, especially if he doesn't produce a highlight reel knockout or like a, you know, a performance of the year candidate, you know, in this fight. Because Shakur's got, he unfortunately is in a position whereby in several of his last fights he has not necessarily looked at his best, and that's the worst place to be when you're coming to the end of your contract. It would have made more sense for him to have, you know, the dud performances when after he had just signed a new one, and then maybe had 2 or 3 classic ones back to back as the contract is renewing, because then, you know, you've got a bit more bargaining power. Right now, as much as he is, you know, a free weight world champion, one of the best technical boxers in the game at the moment, his actual value is currently in the mud based on his last performance. And obviously, because that's not the only time he's thrown, you know, he's laid an egg, or, you know, or had, you know, a dud of a performance, even in victory, it's a case that, you know, he came into this negotiations in the worst possible place. So yeah, even though he's decided to go down the free agency thing, he needs to hope that he has, like I said, the master of all performances on the weekend, and hopes that that is enough to basically get his value back up to where it needs to be for the other companies, Matchroom, PBC, Golden Boy, who probably won't, you know, but I guess you got Queensbury trying to sign American fighters now. You don't know, that could be a swerve. You might, you know, he might end up with Brandon Lee and Daniel Lugo. That might be interesting. But personally, I feel as if, yeah, this is his almost like his shop window for Matchroom. And I actually think Eddie Hearn is he's openly pretty much said, look, we're looking to have these chats as soon as the fight's over. Whether we sign him or not, we're keen on signing him for the right price. We can get him the right fights, especially, you know, and we can build and make him the star that he should have been at Top Rank. I like when he, you know, he kind of throws that little jab in there. But obviously he said previously, look, Bob, once Bob feels as if like you're going to be close to the end of the contract, or that he doesn't really want to work with you, or that you're looking to leave, he doesn't throw any promotion behind you. So even though he might pay you the money you deserve, or to pay you the money in your contract, he's not doing any extras. So literally your fight just sort of comes up out of nowhere and then goes just as quickly. Because to be totally honest, even obviously I knew about the fight being signed a while back, I only remembered that the fight was happening this week, I think last week, when I saw something on Twitter about it. So I'm like, yo, if that's the case, like, where's the promotion? Where's the blood, sweat and tears show? I mean, maybe it's there and I haven't seen it on YouTube yet. And that could be possible, because I haven't really been as active on the YouTube, you know, on sort of the top rank and stuff as I used to. But I would normally them kind of things just pop up in my feed. So if there's no blood, sweat or tears and everything on there, and you've got this big triple header with 3, you know, of your premier stars, that tells me that they're not trying to throw no marketing dollars behind you whatsoever. So a bit of nasty work. But with that being said, it is what it is. Like I said, he's fighting, you know, he's fighting this weekend to make a statement. If he makes that statement, then the value goes up. If he labors or has a poor performance like Tio did last week, then boy, that you know, that value goes down even further. Either way, I'm intrigued to find out what happens. And I guess we gotta finish this one up by talking about Ryan Garcia is gone off the deep end yet again. Look, his father the other day said that, look, he wants him to get therapy for his drinking. Ryan then came out and ultimately said his father's chatting shit, doesn't really know what he's talking about. I ain't drank in a while. I spoke to him afterwards, he apologized for saying what he said. Then he's on, you know, he's basically on the spaces on Twitter X, like, it sounds like doped out of his head on some kind of substance that you can't, that you know, you can't just sniff. It sounds like something you inject into yourself, slurring his words. So I'm sure some kind of alcohol was consumed, and he's on there all, you know, hard R in the N word all over the place towards the end of the clip. And I'm looking at it like, Ryan is, he needs help. He most definitely needs help at this point. And unfortunately, I think he's going to get the kind of help that he don't want moving forward, because he had a lot of people backing him. All of a sudden, I don't think them same people are so keen to be backing him now, as he's coming out with, you know, what we're going to call racial statements. Now, to be fair, back in the day, it wasn't that unheard of that you had like Puerto Ricans and Dominicans, Mexicans, you know, just the Boricuas and the Latinos in, you know, I guess New York primarily, like, would use the M word, and it was what it was, and I guess everyone else didn't really mind. Then sometimes when you got it on the West Coast, it felt a bit more racial, and I'm guessing the Deep South they probably wouldn't have been there as such, but I'm assuming it would have been a problematic statement down there. But now, obviously, in this new generation, that word is supposed to, you know, it's been claimed by quote unquote the blacks only, and now you've got an issue whereby no one can't use it unless, you know, they can prove their FBA status or whatnot. Now me, I don't care for the word in any way, shape or form. I don't really care who uses it, in what context. Just know that repercussions are a thing. They're serious. But with that being said, I haven't used that word since I was about 20 years old. And you know, that was me as a child thinking it was cool, until I watched this documentary called The N Word, and I watched that and I was like, why would I want to associate myself with this based on their history in America and what it all means for them and everything? Like, why are people actually happy to say that? So from then I ain't never used it, of only maybe to have to detail or explain something that someone else has said, and even then I don't really feel comfortable doing so. And that's me as a black man. So someone like Ryan Garcia, who is definitely on the white side of the Mexican spectrum, let's be real, like using hard R's in spaces, knowing that he's gonna have to see black people in real life. Yeah, you might have that left hook, but guess what, that's not gonna help you against everybody. Like, he's going off the deep end and he needs help. But to be honest, I already knew that this guy was suspect in terms of his racial tolerance, or his what we might call his racial sensitivity, when we see his dad. I mean, let's be honest, from his dad was on, you know, in the press conference talking about Bill Haney's, you know, nappy head and all that kind of stuff. We all know, in any walk of life, you only gonna use the term nappy head as a disrespect towards a certain demographic of people based on the way that their hair and the texture of their hair is, because you can't, that insult doesn't apply to any other race apart from black people, or black, or people that are majority black or of black origins. So when you see that, you have to ultimately say, all right, so you didn't just do that because, oh, you thought that was just a quick response to hurting back. No, you did that knowing that that's something that only a black person is gonna feel. Therefore, it's something that only a black person will take offense to, which ultimately then makes it prejudice. If it was done in a way to keep a person down or to keep them bucking the system, then you go into the racial aspects of things. But I'm not going to get all deep into no histories and all of that, but all I'm saying is Ryan Garcia at this point needs to be very careful. Mental health issues or not, going off the deep end or not, immature or not, he's going to end up having to see people he doesn't want to see. And a lot of that is because his mouth is running. He is writing checks that he ain't even got the money for nowadays, because he's getting sued left, right and center by every single organization. He's got supplement companies suing him. He's got like brands, you know, like you got Logan Paul was looking to sue him at one point. You've got Eddie Hearn I think he was at one point looking to sue him. Vada, I think, had something out at the minute. There's a lot going on here, and he needs, at this point, someone needs to take his social media away, someone needs to take away his phone, someone needs to forcibly put him in an institution where he can be assessed at properly, and find out exactly what's going on. Because all of this stuff, like I said, you might be trolling on certain times, you might be trying to just have fun and incite riots and whatever, and just incite chaos, which is fine, but we all know that at the end of every chaos there is a reckoning. And I can't lie, I think his reckoning is coming very soon. I don't think he is the reckoning. I think it will be coming towards him. We've already seen he's got Caleb Plant problems right now. He's got Zab Judah problems. He's got Ishe Smith problems, and those are the two people that actually trying to big bro him and talk to him and trying to help him. He's still technically got Devin Haney problems. At some point that's going to have to come back, or friends of Haney or whatever. Now you're on these spaces hard R-ing. How is that going to look to Derek James, who is your trainer, a black man, the same man that had to sit there and listen to your dad talk about Bill Haney, nappy head? What about, it's the same with Bernard Hopkins, with B-Hop. He ain't gonna be playing that. So that's the same guy that basically is in your corner, supposed to be fighting your corner. And now these people have also then got to now associate with Oscar De La Hoya, who might be basically supporting you and sort of the racist language or the racially insensitive comments that you're making online, outside and along everything else that he's been saying, talking about how many people's wives he slept with, and telling grown men to SMD and all of that stuff. Like, there's a lot to unpack in this, and I don't know how much time I have to really go into it. And I would need to really look at the entire timeline of things to find out where all of this is going on. And at this point, it has to just be for attention now, because mental health aside, he knows fully what he's doing. And again, I just have a feeling that something is going to take place, and it's gonna be something that some people will find tragic, but a lot of people may find warranted. The only thing I can hope for is that his reckoning comes in the ring and not outside of it. That's pretty much the way I'm going to look at it right now. But with that being said, you know what? I'm going to end this one here, because yeah, that's crazy. Like I said, I see it earlier and I'm like, yo, this is wild. I pray he gets the help he needs. Like I said, when it comes to that word, I'm indifferent in terms of who uses it, how it uses it. It doesn't personally offend me like that, but all I know is consequences, innit? Know that using that word, especially in certain environments, consequences will be had. And I just have a feeling he's said too much now, not even just that, but in general, where his consequences are going to be coming quite fast, and they could be very severe. But let me leave that one there. Guys, give me your opinions down below. Thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe and share. Basis picks will be out tomorrow, but for right now, it's the Hardcore Casual out.